Reverend Vicki's going to come up and talk to us about living life in the divine flow.
Thank you, Matthew, Joshua. When I was in ministerial school, or actually by the time I finished with ministerial school, I realized that there was two purposes to that program. One was to learn stuff. You know, we had to learn how to do legal things, financial stuff, board work, administrative, those kinds of things. And then there was the real program, which was about learning instead of from the head, instead of from the heart, and learning about me. We had tons of essays to write over the years. Things like, how do you respond to stress, to conflict, to disagreement, to disappointment, to tragedy? What were our family dynamics like? What were the things that were happening in the world in your formative years that had an influence on you? So that was a big question for me because I'd never really thought about it before. I grew up in the 60s, teenager in the 60s, and I was living in Southern California. So I was heavily impacted by the Vietnam War. My brother was sent to Vietnam, died there. Civil rights movement, women's movement, lots was going on. And I had wished then that I could, if I was only 5 years older, you know, I would have gone to Alabama and Mississippi and walked with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Turned out later in my life I was able to travel to Vietnam with Vietnam veterans on a journey of reconciliation and healing for them. So our essay questions was also, in the midst of all of this, where did you find peace, faith, understanding, hope in the midst of this? And for me, my answer was nature. Nature was and still is my teacher. Everything I need to know and learn, I can find and experience in the natural world. If I look at nature, do I see it working hard to make things happen, to push the seasons, to make rivers run upstream, to grow flowers in the wintertime? No. Nature does not work. What about me? Well, maybe I don't always have to be planning and figuring stuff out and making sure everything's, right and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I could just cooperate with the divine flow that I see in nature all around me. So that natural flow includes things like relax, harvest, celebrate, enjoy. What if, heaven forbid, I just floated for a while? So when I was thinking about that, I thought of the song, which probably most of us know, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Stephen Taylor wrote a little book called Row, Row, Row Your Boat, and it's a guide for living life in the divine flow. And I was very intrigued by this, of course, and so I just gobbled it up, and I'm just going to share some of what he came to in writing this book. So he took the words to the song and applied them to the spiritual journey, which, is very intriguing for me. So I thought, let's just have some fun with that today. So we'll start with the boat. The boat. Your physical being, physical life, began with the launching of this boat, right? Each one of us is a unique divine creation. There has never been another one of you in all the years and years and years, millennium that have gone before us. Each one of us has a unique life path. We've come to Earth with different abilities and capabilities and interests and gifts. The boat is the framework for your life, but there's also much more than that. We also have our minds and our hearts from which to choose the direction of this little vessel. Our wonderful mind is, and sometimes, I've caught people and myself thinking, oh, my mind, I got to quiet my mind. My mind is doing this and that. It's like, no, our minds are amazing things. They analyze, they reason, they sort things out, they make decisions. We need all this, right? Our minds are wonderful. Our minds interpret things and we remember things. But we also have our heart wisdom, which is often overlooked. Our hearts can feel, sense, and intuit what cannot be seen or necessarily even understood, that we may never hear in words, but there is a wisdom within us, which is divine understanding. So we have our boat, we have our bodies, we have our mind, we have our hearts. What else is at play? Well, we have the stream, that underlying divine flow that sustains us, that keeps us afloat. The divine flow we cannot be separated from, right? It's our first and second principle, one presence, one power, all good, and we are that. This divine flow is that we cannot be separate from us, is always moving us forward to our highest good. It cannot do otherwise. If we could follow a stream from its, birth up in the mountains, probably somewhere, as it makes its way all the way down to the sea, we would see that it is not a constant flow. Just like our lives, sometimes we are carried gently along. We experience things and they unfold perfectly, beautifully, effortlessly, like the whole universe is conspiring on our behalf. That happens sometimes. And sometimes it just doesn't feel like we're going anywhere, right? We're just drifting aimlessly, not much happening. Sometimes it feels tumultuous, maybe even dangerous, too fast. We have no control over what is happening. It can feel like that to us, where life is taking us in some place we don't really want to go. One of my teenage dreams, I guess I could call it that, was to go whitewater rafting. And it took about 55 years to have that dream come true. Joseph and I were camping in Utah, and I thought, oh, this is where it all happens, is whitewater rafting. Now, my idea of what whitewater rafting would be like as a teenager is very different from what whitewater rafting would look like as a 60-year-old, right? So I thought, I want to enjoy that. I don't want to, looking for a terrifying day experience is not what I'm up for anymore. But we did find a company that, I was very clear on what my expectations were. They said, yeah, come to the right place. And we spent a day on the Colorado River. There were times when we had bumps. There was times we kind of, catch your breath a little bit. There were times when the rowing was strenuous. We worked hard. And there was times when we were drifting so very quietly, I had to look at the shore. Are we even moving? But what was at work all the time? The flow of the river. No matter what it looked like around us, under us was a force that had been operating on this planet for probably millions of years. So when we remember this, that we are in the flow of divine energy, and it is only good, it helps us, I think, helps me to trust the process, even if I don't understand it, even if I'm uncomfortable with it. So we have this boat, our unique life. We have our minds and our hearts. We have this powerful moving force that's supporting us and holding us up. So now what happens when we need to make a choice about what direction we want to move in? Now we're in the rowing part of the song. How do we decide? Whether we are contemplating a major life decision or even just maybe what we should make for dinner or something like that, how do we choose? How do we get in touch with what is really valuable to us and meaningful for us? Often when we need to make a decision, or certainly for me, I start up here, right? And I reason things out and I get more information and I try to, figure out the best way to go. But, if we don't stop and tap into this heart wisdom, we are missing a critical piece. our intuitive nature, our inner knowing, our divine understanding. When we take time to tune into our hearts, we hear something. Sometimes we don't even hear it. We just get this feeling or this sense, right? That's very strong and very clear. The language of the heart can be so elusive, right? So very, very quiet. And that's why it's so important to take time to tune in to this seat of wisdom. When I first came to Canada in 1973, I was on a part of a Quaker program, and we traveled around the world and volunteered in different places. So I was only going to be here for a year. At the end of that year, it's like, things had changed, right? So I thought I could drop out of the program and stay here, or I could continue, because actually my next stop was India, which is where I'd always wanted to go from to, even since a child. I thought, what am I going to do? So, have you ever done a pros and cons list? These are all the reasons why I should stay here. These are all the downsides of why I should stay here. This is why, got that all figured out. So on one side of the list were many, many reasons to leave and to continue with my educational program and really the things that really, I enjoyed. On the other side, there was a lot of cons. At that point, I was not a Canadian citizen. I didn't have a work permit. If I dropped out of school, then, all those kinds of things. But I decided to stay. So I didn't look at the 20 things on this side and the 3 things on this side, because there was one thing on this side that overruled everything else on that side, and that was I was in love. Yeah, so it's like, okay, I don't care if I'm staying. I'm staying here. So we make our decisions, hopefully in a way that really brings the heart space and we listen to it. And then what? We actually have to do something. We need to move our ideas forward. We need to be conscious, active participants in our lives. We need to put the oars in the water and row. We need to take a step, even a small one. A step in any direction will help us in at least 2 ways. It will bring us closer to what we imagined, what we were aiming for, so that we can figure out the next step from there. Or we will see that what we've just done is actually taking us farther away from where we wanted to be, and then we can make an adjustment to realign ourselves with the path that we wanted to take. Either way, we've made progress. We need to be ready to adjust our course all the time as each step reveals something new. We need to stay fluid, anticipating change. If we reflect on the past, if you would do that for a moment, sometimes the route that got us to where we wanted to go was not the easiest or the most direct, right? I just can't. When I was 20, I wasn't imagining that I would be living in Canada for the rest of my life. It was and people say, how did you get to Canada? It's like a very long story, and I kept taking these steps and making adjustments, and here I am. If we remember that we are always in the divine flow, surrounded by 100% good, we will pay attention to everything that is going on around us, because information, insight could alter what we decide to do. It could be, you could overhear a conversation in the grocery store, or at a bus stop, or flip open a magazine and see an ad and go, oh, it might not even be about the product. There's like a word there that grabbed, I never thought, I could apply this. So we need to be paying attention all the time. And we often miss this good that is showing up for us all the time because we are thinking about the future, planning for the future, or remembering the past. We are not experiencing the present now moment. The next part of the song is one word: gently. Gently down the stream. So if you think about this, anyone here a kayaker, or I don't think people row boats anymore, but if you think about it, you do not have your oars in the water all the time, right? There is a pause between each stroke. That pause is very, very important. It may seem like there is no action taking place, but in that brief moment, the boat or the vessel rights itself a little bit, and it recovers from the thrust of the stroke. We need to stop rowing every once in a while and see where we are, see where we've come from, and what adjustments need to be made going forward. If we put a stick in the water and watch it go downstream, what does it do when it comes to a boulder? It lets the stream carry it. You'll see it either goes around this way or it goes around that way, right? Does it stop and argue with the rock? Does it get stubborn and try to, smash the rock? Does it try to force its way through the rock? Does it try to move the rock somewhere else? And I came up with all these things because this is what we do, what I do. It's like, this is not going to stop me. I'm just going to move this over here, or I'm just going to go straight through it, or I'm just going to argue with it until it changes its mind. I do these things. What if I could just be like the stick? Oh, okay, I need to make an adjustment. Go around this way, go around that way, let the flow carry me. We all get stuck at times. We run into blocks in our path. There is no life without challenges. But how do we approach them? How do we respond to them? That is the question to ask ourselves. Gently is pausing for a breath, for a fresh insight, for the breath of Spirit, for the voice of Spirit to be heard. Gently means taking time to pray, to meditate, to be still, to rest, to float, to listen. Lifting up our oars or becoming still every once in a while gives us time to remember who we are, our divine essence, our spiritual nature, the things that we have to support us spiritually. The divine wisdom that guides us, right? The power that is greater than anything around us, that power that carries us forward. That's when we have time to remember that and realign ourselves with that. And then, from that stillness, from that quiet, from that rest place, from that gentle place, with renewed energy, renewed clarity, we can pick up the oars and start rowing again. Gently and merrily. So, happiness is something that can be experienced on this amazing life journey that we are all living. And so I really invite you to notice and celebrate your accomplishments, your achievements, no matter how small. I got through this day and I didn't judge anybody. I had a conversation with somebody that I find quite difficult and I did not lose my patience. I remembered to take the bins out to the street so they could be, whatever it is. Give yourself a little pat on the back. Celebrate and enjoy everything you can. Don't put it off. Don't put it off. Don't wait until you are there. Because have you noticed? We are never there. We are only here.